G.E.L in Agriculture, brought to you with the compliments of the Ministry of Agriculture, Food, Fisheries and Water Resource Management.
Grow well, eat well, live well, right here in BIM.
Hello everyone and welcome to G.E.L in Agriculture, where of course we learn every week to grow well, eat well and live well right here in BIM. Now today our episode has brought us to the north of the country. We're here in St. Andrew at the Soil Conservation Unit, and we are joined by Mr. Bernard Thompson, who's the officer in charge here at the unit. Tell us a little bit about the Soil Conservation Unit. What do you guys do here?
Well, the Soil Conservation Unit was established mainly to stabilize the Scotland district, the lands in the Scotland district, right? That is done through our engineering section in conjunction with the agronomy and forestry sections. The agronomy is responsible for the propagation of fruit trees, and the forestry section for propagating forestry species, as well as using those plants to revegetate or reforest the area.
And I heard you mention fruit trees.
Yes.
And we're actually here today to talk about fruit trees, caring and maintaining your fruit trees. So tell us, for those people who may be interested in planting a tree or two, how do you care for a fruit tree, a small plant that you may bring home?
Well, your aftercare of your fruit tree starts from the moment you purchase the tree, okay? Normally, you'll find that persons tend to handle the tree badly. In terms of taking the tree, let's say they're going to the car, they just take it and they usually grab it by the stem instead of taking it by the bag. And that can cause serious stress for your plant. The possibility is that you can damage the root system of the plant, and then you set the plant back considerably.
So what would that mean? It means it would take longer to bear fruit?
You can set it back in terms of its growth, one, or you can cause the plant to die altogether.
Okay.
If the root system is extensively damaged.
How exactly do you prepare the area for the plant?
Well, you want to dig a hole that is bigger than the actual size of the container that the plant is in.
Okay.
Okay, whether it be a pot or a pot and bag. You're going to want to incorporate some organic media into the soil and plant your plant into that. Okay. Now, I have here with me Sean, who will demonstrate how to plant.
Okay.
Now, some people tend, and this is very important, they come home, yes, and they're all excited, and they tend to go and plant the plant with the bag still on. You do not want to do that. Okay, so you strip your bag off or remove your container. You're putting some of the organic material into the hole. Then you're going to place your plant on top of that. You just want to loosen it up a little bit, not too much. You can then start to cover your area. Now, you do not want to come too high up the stem with the soil. Okay? Now, when that is completed, you just don't stop there now.
Okay.
All happens is that it is now planted in the ground.
Okay.
You need now to make sure that it is well watered. And for a young plant, you have to do frequent watering for a young plant. If it's a mature tree that you have in your backyard, then you will water less frequent.
Okay, how much is frequent?
The type of watering would be preferably to be deep watering for large mature trees. Okay. In terms of frequency, a good test would be when the first 2 inches of the soil depth is dry, you would want to water your plant.
Okay.
Okay? Your young plant, that is.
All right.
The other thing is your fertilizer. Okay? You would have seen we putting some organic manure into the soil. It is best basically for young plants to use organic manure rather than the chemical manure. Because one of the things the young plant will need is high nitrogen, right? And you can get that from your organic manure.
So what is this that we have here that should aid the plant in some way?
This serves 2 purposes. One, it acts as a windbreak initially, and also if you live in an area where you have stray animals, for example sheep,
Right.
That will prevent them from actually eating
Okay.
your plant.
So what you're saying is that it's important to have a cover to stop the wind from hitting against the plant, especially when it's at a young age.
Yes.
And to keep away, you said, animals and so on as well. What is this made of, and is it something that the average farmer will have access to?
No, but you can use, persons can use chicken wire. I've seen some persons use feed bags, for example.
So basically anything that breaks the wind but
Yes.
still allows some air to pass through.
Yes, you don't need to cover it too high because you still need to have light hitting your plant.
Okay.
The sunlight hitting your plant. At least you need at least 6 hours of sunlight. Really, for young trees, should be 6 hours of sunlight per day. So that is why you would not go and plant it close to a building that's going to provide shade after 12 o'clock. Because location is very important in planting your trees. You don't want to plant it too close to sidewalks, fences, and guard walls.
We spoke about fertilizer. What about pests? At what age do pests become a problem?
Well, pests can be a problem from any age of the plant. Okay, you're looking for things like, if it's mostly sucking insects, diseases also can step in. But in terms of looking, because identifying these things are critical, most of them the sucking insects tend to live on the underside of the leaf.
Okay.
So you want to check the underside of your leaf for any pests.
Well, we want to thank Sean, Kirk, and Mr. Thompson, of course, for teaching us more about these fruit trees, and we'll be hearing about these pests as we come back right after the break.
Grow well, eat well, live well, right here in BIM.
Grab the phone, get the hoe, link up the family and come let it go.
Grow well, eat well, live well, right here in BIM.
Yes,
Grow well, eat well, live well, right here in BIM.
no, we don't have to buy all imported stock, cause high nutrition in the food that we got. Plant something, start your own crop, grow something local to put in your pot. It's true, more healthy with the fresh produce, with high nutritional value. It costs less to grow and eat your own food, so gather the crew. Come,
Grow well, eat well, live well, right here in BIM.
yes,
Grow well, eat well, live well, right here in BIM. Grow well, eat well, live well, right here in BIM.
Before the break, we were learning about fruit trees, how to care for your fruit tree from the time you bring it home to when it begins to flower and bear fruit. One of the things that Mr. Thompson would have spoken to us about is fertilizing your tree well, and of course being on the lookout for pests. And that's why we're joined now by Mr. Michael James. He's a senior agricultural officer at the Ministry of Agriculture. Mr. James, I own a fruit tree. I'm not sure how to look out for pests or which pests may be affecting my tree. What should I be looking out for?
Oh, that's a lot, girl. It depends on the tree.
Okay.
For instance, with mangoes, if that is where he took you, you will look for black spots on the leaves. You can look for general decline of the tree. You can look for the tree just drying. What we're going to deal with today, however, is citrus. Predominantly citrus, and a particular disease in citrus. And one of the reasons why you're not going to get citrus being produced in this area for a while. Around 2014, we would have been notified officially that we had a disease called citrus greening. The original name of it is something called Wong Long Bing. This one sound good, right? Wong Long Bing. It is the Chinese variation of that particular disease. Was first seen probably around the 1800s, so it has been with us for a long period of time.
Yeah.
But it was officially diagnosed around 1927 in India.
Okay.
All right. It is caused by a bacterium, something called Candidatus liberibacter, and it is vectored. That means that the disease is spread through an insect called a psyllid.
Okay.
All right. Now,
Does this affect only citrus trees?
only citrus and family to the citrus. So this is a healthy leaf, and this is the diseased leaf. All right. And if you follow me, and we come around this side, it is even more stark in that you can see the nice green of this leaf, and then you have the mottling of that particular leaf, right? Now that is one of the symptoms, one of the major symptoms that you have with this particular disease. Now, I remember I mentioned that the disease is vectored or transmitted by an insect.
Yeah.
Now, one way you can look for the insect, we call it notching, where you have the leaf, instead of being completely the shape it should be,
Right.
all right, you will have this sort of almost like an indentation.
Yeah,
We
looks
call
like
it
it's eaten
notching.
out.
Exactly. That is notching. And you can see it on various, you see it there,
Yeah.
that's notching. You see it here, that's
people right
notching,
here.
right? Right, that is notching. All right? That is what you're looking for. Other symptoms would include what we call dieback. And when I go over to another tree, I'll show you what dieback is. You can also get that your trees will lose leaves, and it will also lose fruit. You'll find that the fruit will drop.
Okay.
Now, you must be careful in that some people think that every time that you see the fruit drop or you see some sort of yellowing going on the leaf, that you have citrus greening. That is not necessarily so. If you plant this tree, you'll see that there's dry limbs, and we call it dieback. And why we call it dieback? Because it starts from the tip, from the end of the branch, and goes into the, exactly. And you have that entire, so the more this happens, the more tree you lose.
Okay.
Until eventually it dies. Because what the disease does is a systemic problem. So it goes, once it gets into the plant, it gets into the root system.
Right.
So for the time it's in the root system, there's nothing you can do that you can get rid of this disease. You cannot cure it. All you can do is manage the tree sufficiently that you will still have your limes to make lemonade, your oranges to get some fresh orange juice. That's all you can do. You can manage it. You cannot get rid of the disease. If you draw closer, this is what I was telling you, that some people sometimes will see different things on the tree and mistake it for citrus greening. Now, this particular leaf, you see underneath is black.
Yeah.
Rub your finger underneath it. How does it feel?
It feels bumpy.
And it feels rough.
Yeah.
You feel like sandpaper.
Yeah.
That is called melanose. Completely different. It will cause defoliation, which means the leaves will drop. But it is not going to kill the tree like citrus greening.
Okay.
If you look at this leaf, this is excellent. Notice you're still seeing this yellow-green, but this is not blotchiness. This is actually a physiological problem in that there is a nutrient deficiency, probably zinc or nitrogen. You will have to do the testing to really find out exactly what it is. But this,
problem.
and how can you tell the difference? If I can pick this leaf, the tree is not going to mind. If you pick this leaf and you put it beside a blotchy leaf. All right, let's get a blotchy leaf here. You can see the difference.
Yeah, big difference.
If I split this leaf in two, you can see on both sides, it's almost what we call symmetrical.
Yeah.
On both sides, is the same. If you look at this leaf, if you split it in two, the two are completely different. So how do we manage this problem? What you will use, if you need to, if you had to, is a bactericide. But even then, you have to know what problems also cause. When you have the disease, it's associated with what we call, there's a phytophthora that causes gummosis. If you come in close, you see the gumming on the plant, which means that the root has gotten infected. And there's a correlation between citrus greening and gummosis. What they've found is that if you feed the plant or give it enough nourishment, it can give you fruit, although it is still disease.
Okay, and it will continue giving
It
you
will
fruit?
continue giving you fruit. No, the disease is not going anywhere, but it has enough within itself that it can continue
still-
giving fruit. So what we recommend is that you up how much fertilizer you give the tree. And as long as you do that and you cut back, you cut off all the dry limbs. Make sure you cut back the dry limbs to live tissue. All right? And when you cut, if it's a large branch, you just paint it with a little
So
fungicide.
on this branch, for example, I will cut it where?
You will cut it right back to here.
Okay.
All right? To life, or even further down here. The number of fungicides that are available. I don't like to say a particular product, but if people want to know, they can always contact us at the Ministry of Agriculture, 535-5203 or 535-5252, and we will be able to help you.
Well, Mr. James, thank you so much for teaching us, as well as the farmers at home, about citrus greening and how we could go about saving our trees from this disease. And of course,
welcome.
as usual, we have our recipe of the day, thanks to the BADMC. Well, that's it for this week's episode of G.E.L and Agriculture. It has been a long and wet day in St. Andrew, but I would say it has been productive. We learned to care for our fruit trees as well as protect them from citrus greening. Of course, we want to thank Mr. Thompson and Mr. James, as well as Sean and Kirk, and the entire Ministry of Agriculture, of course. We hope you can join us next week on G.E.L and Agriculture as we learn to grow well, eat well, and live well right here in BIM. See you then.
Grow well, eat well, live well, right here in BIM.
G.E.L in Agriculture, brought to you with the compliments of the Ministry of Agriculture, Food, Fisheries and Water Resource Management.